and thank you for joining Growing Tech Fast, the condensed Org3D podcast, where we talk about growing tech startups and with the ones who have grown them. Today, I am joined by Debbie Gordon, founder and CEO of Cloud Range Cyber. It's great to have you on the podcast today. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks, Emily.
Perfect. So for the benefit of our listeners, can you tell me a little bit more about who you are and your mission with the work that you are doing?
Sure. So I'm Debbie Gordon. I founded Cloud Range in 2018, and we exist to make simulation training in cybersecurity a requirement to get a job and do a job and continue to do jobs in cyber, because cyber is the only life safety field that currently does not require hands-on simulation training to do a job, and it is in fact life safety. So we exist also to close the skills gap, which is really also an experience gap, because cybersecurity changes every day, and so people need constant training.
Perfect. That sounds absolutely fascinating. Thank you for sharing a little bit about that. So tell me about your background and how you began this journey.
So this is my probably third and a half startup. So I probably began my entrepreneurial journey about almost 25 years ago, and I've had an e-commerce company, an IT asset management company, a training company, all that I've built and exited. And when I founded Cloud Range, it was just a really good time, because cybersecurity was, it's not getting any better, and the talent shortage is getting worse. And so I knew that I needed to find a way to try to address that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Perfect. Sounds very good. So I hear 2023 is going to be a huge year for you guys. Can you tell me a little bit more about the plans for this year?
Yeah, so we're doing, so we have really two parts of the company. One part is where we work with large enterprises and governments to upskill and continuously upskill their cyber training, or I'm sorry, their cyber talent. And then the other is to help create workforce, because there's over 4 million open jobs in cybersecurity today, and we need to create new people. And that's not only being able to depend on higher education. A lot of people come out of college even with degrees in cybersecurity, and they still can't get jobs because they don't have experience. And so one of the big focuses for this year, which is becoming very successful, is where we're working with institutions of higher education and workforce development programs and putting simulation training into those programs, so that students have actual experience when they complete the programs, and they're able to get a job with some experience.
Oh, that's fantastic, especially in this day and age as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fantastic idea, and I think, yeah, that'll really take off this year. Great. So are there any particular moments that have triggered a change in your thinking / approach to startup life?
It's all I know. Honestly, it's all I know. My parents really don't know where I came from. I'm theirs, but it's just really been my existence probably ever since I was a child. I just was always entrepreneurial, and being a startup entrepreneur is something that you're continuously learning and applying what you learn. So when I founded Cloud Range, I had 20 years of experience being an entrepreneur, of success and failures, to be able to apply, and it's a lot easier after a lot of time. But the business of the business is the easy part. It's all the other stuff that's in the startup world that's more challenging, and really for any startup entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Great. So if you could, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
So I would tell my 20-year-old self to just continue, to just do it. Probably be patient, and I was. I mean, I always I always had the confidence to just jump in. I started from an early age. I didn't work for anyone else for very long after college. And I always just aspired to be out on my own and make my own rules. And it's, listen to people around you, ask a lot of questions, and just pay attention is really the key to it, because a lot of people have ideas, but they, in and of themselves, they may be a great idea, but will a company part with their money for it? So if you build it, they will not necessarily come. So there's a lot more to building a business than having, a product that seems great. It has to be something that has value to people or businesses.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's such a key thing that a lot of people can take, especially what you mentioned earlier about, working with colleges and everything to allow people to, get that job. I think that's really great. So yeah. Very, very fascinating. Great.
And also one other thing I'll add is to really pay attention to what you're good at, because a lot of people fight trying to become good at something that they're not. But I believe that if you really identify what you're really good at and maximize that, that's really where success is. And so pay attention. I do this every day. Pay attention to how you're spending your time, what brings you energy, and what you're good at, and ditch the stuff that is a vampire of energy. Ditch the stuff that you might not be great at, because that's not a great use of your time. Delegate that, outsource it. But focus on what you do best, which is your highest and best use, and maximize that. And that's where you're going to be happiest. You're going to contribute the most value to your company, and you're going to be really great at it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people could definitely take that into consideration. I think me included as well. Yeah, it's definitely something a lot of people can learn. Great. Okay. So how has the aftermath of COVID affected you?
We were not, well, so COVID happened just a year and a half after I founded the company. So we didn't know exactly how it was going to affect us, because we were still relatively new. We were organized already remotely. So we didn't have to change anything organizationally when COVID happened. Everybody around the world that worked with CloudRange, our customers and our employees around the world, they're already working at home. We already had built a remote culture that, truthfully, is all I know. And we have team members that we're, very close to. We talk to every day. And I have a couple that I haven't even met yet, even to this day. But they're 100% part of the team, and they're, leaders. And so the aftermath, I would say there wasn't really an aftermath for us, because COVID didn't affect us the way it did a lot of other companies. We grew, we did great financially during COVID, but I think that, again, we had nothing to compare it to because we were new then. But now I think a lot of companies are, with people still at home, I think our business development folks aren't traveling as much as they may have been before, or would have been if COVID hadn't happened, just because people still aren't meeting in person. I mean, even today, I go to an in-person meeting. I have one today, this afternoon, and it's just kind of funny for me, because it's just, even this many years later, it's still feels a little unusual to be in person. And it's more just because business cultures have changed. People are working from home more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's such a different, environment to what it was a few years ago. So it's great that you had already adopted that before it kind of became the norm, really.
Yeah.
Great. So what would you say has been some of the lowest and highest moments in your startup career?
Oh, goodness. Where do I start? Well, I'll start with the lowest moments. We all have those things where we work really hard on something and, just gets swiped out from under you by a competitor for no good reason. I've had to make hard decisions. I've had, getting rid of people that I really liked, terminating them, I meant, terminating their employment, making hard business decisions to shut down a part of my company that, was just not performing the way we had hoped. And this is in a past life. But there's, constantly hard decisions, but life is and business is really an ongoing trajectory of ups and downs. As long as there's a net up, you're in good shape. People see successes and failures as these individual things, but really it's a series. And as you go through life, you just want to kind of be up. You're going to have a lot of downs in there, but as long as you're continuing to grow and thrive, then you're going to have these downs, and every down is going to be a learning experience. And if you don't make it a learning experience, that's where the mistakes are made.
Right. 100%. I think, again, a lot of people can, really take that into consideration. Just making sure you remember that although there might be a little speed bump, you are, continuing that trend.
Yep.
Great. Okay, cool. Who would you say are some of your role models?
Well, first off, I think my parents, even though I'm very different from them from a business perspective, but they really taught me just to explore things, and they never held me back. If I wanted to do something, as long as I paid for it, I was good. But my mother worked full time, so she is a role model. She'd get dressed up for work every day. I was kind of a latchkey kid with my sister. We'd, come home from school and take care of ourselves until my mom got home, and then my dad would get home. And, so I saw my mother as a great role model. And so, regardless of, the professional differences, and she was in healthcare, very different from me, but I just really work hard, be disciplined, and good things will come. And so and my parents just taught me great values in life, and just to always do the right thing.
It's great to hear. What are some of the best advice that you've been given in your career?
Perseverance. Don't give up, and also don't overanalyze things. A lot of people have to, and I give the same advice to people, is when people are starting a business or thinking of a business, they can get analysis paralysis, and do you want something to be perfect, or do you want it to exist? So sometimes people will go have a business plan, and they're constantly tweaking it, and they are not ready to start the business, and really it's just out of fear. So I always tell them, just do it. And never is a business going to be the same in a year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years than it is when it was first on a piece of paper. And so just do it, because everything's going to start adapting from day one anyway.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. I think, again, if you've got an idea and you believe in it, just go ahead and do it. And, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, and just got to roll with it, really.
Yep.
So what should our listeners do more of in 2023?
Well, think for yourselves. A lot of people have gotten in my opinion, way too reactive to what other people say publicly, people that they don't even know, and they're latching on to opinions. Think for yourselves and be vocal about what you think is right and what you're confident about, and make your own decisions and be a leader, really. And I have seen a lot of that deterioration in society lately, where people just it's easier for them to just listen to what other people say versus just stand up and be a leader. And so, we all have that opportunity now to lead and do the right thing. And I just encourage people to do more of that.
Great. Well, it's been such a pleasure, speaking to you, hearing your story, and getting some of your wisdom. And thank you to everyone listening, and tune in next time for Growing Tech Fast.